Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. You would think that since we are social distancing and not working, at least I'm not working, since the skating rink is closed, that I would have all this free time, but the days just seem to fly away. And today's been extra busy, so I'm just now sitting down to do what I had promised myself I would do yesterday. And that is put together a gentle sequence for some of you. Maybe some of you aren't feeling very motivated to work out, or you're feeling kind of tired because you're missing your friends, or maybe your parents want to do a gentle sequence. So it's been a kind of a crazy day. I'm extra tired today, so I am looking forward to this sequence and how great it's going to make me feel, and hopefully will help me sleep great tonight. So let's get started. Before you begin, you're going to want to have a blanket or a pillow or a towel. You're also going to want either a yoga strap if you have one, or a tie or a belt or a towel would also work. And most likely, you will also want a block. If you do not have a yoga block, that's okay. You can use some kind of sturdy book. Okay? And I'm going to scoot my mat away from the wall a little bit here. A little too close for what I want to do. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay, and today we're going to start with our legs elevated in a resting position. So if you can get an ottoman or some kind of bench, or even just several pillows stacked on one on top of the other, that would be great. So we're going to lie down on one side, roll down onto your back. We won't be here very long, so you don't really need a pillow. And just feel the legs rest here and relax. We're going to put one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart. And take some deep, healing, nourishing breaths. We're going to go in for 3. Inhale 1, 2, 3. And exhale 1, 2, 3. Inhale 1, 2, 3. And exhale 1, 2, 3. And let's continue at our own pace. As you lie here, feel how the deep breaths can lower your heart rate. With each inhalation, there will be a slight rise in the heart rate, but with each exhalation, your heart rate will slow down. And let yourself let go of what you did today. Let go of what there's left to do when you finish this practice. And just enjoy the quiet. On your next inhale, come back to your normal breath. Reach your right arm overhead. Hug your knees into your chest and roll over onto your right side. Using the strength of your arms, stretch out the top leg and come to sitting in a responsible way for your body today. I'm going to move my bench out of the way, my footstool. Okay. And let's come to sitting on our blanket. So if you have a blanket, you want it to be folded kind of like this. It depends on how large your blanket is. This is just one of those simple Mexican blankets. And it's folded once down the middle, and then again down the middle. And then I'm going to fold it horizontally. So we're going to sit right on the edge of that blanket. What that does is helps you tilt your pelvis so that when you are leaning forward in any of these positions, it will help release tension in your low back. Yeah? Okay, so I'll go into a simple cross-legged position. Move my notes here in front of me. This is the first time I've done this sequence, so I have to have my cheat sheet here. Okay. So in this position, place your hands on your knees, roll your shoulders back, sit up tall. We're going to fan the arms overhead. Big circle, all the way up. You can take your eyes up and look at your hands if that feels okay on your neck today. And on an exhale, arms come back down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. You might feel a little crunching and popping in your shoulders as you go up. That's fairly normal. Mind that every time. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale up. Exhale, arms down. Feel your lungs expand on all sides. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, arms down. Take your left arm overhead. We're going to spider walk your right fingers out to the side. Keep your left sit bone grounded. You can look down at your mat, or if it feels okay for your neck, you can look up at your elbow or your top hand. Whatever feels good on your neck. You don't want to feel any strain here on your neck. Just feel a nice gentle stretch in your left side. Inhale, walk yourself back to center. Exhale. And on an inhale, let's go to the other side. Fan the arm up, spider walk the fingers out to the side, ground that right sit bone. And take a couple deep breaths here. And on an inhale, walk your arms back up. Now we're going to circle the arms. Take them wide in a V, and we'll circle those shoulders. They really will pop here. You're going to hear crunch, crackle, pop. Doug Keller, who I have heard him called Mr. Anatomy. I haven't had the pleasure of taking a class with him yet, but says that this is a much better release for the shoulders than the typical full arm circles we used to do as kids when we were in PE class. At least I did in my PE class. Now we're going to go the other direction. And release the hands back down to your knees. So we're going to do a few seated cat-cow. So we're going to round the shoulders forward, concave out the belly, and feel that vertebrae stretch apart one at a time. Now roll the belly forward and untuck the pelvis, arch your back, look up. On an inhale, roll forward, hollow out your stomach. And exhale, belly forward, shoulders down and back. 2 more times. Inhale, roll forward. Exhale, arch back. Last one. Inhale forward. And arch forward. Good. Now with the hand, come back to neutral. With your hands on your knees, we're going to make a circle. So we're going to go forward, over to the right, back, and over to the left. Forward. You feel a nice, gentle sensation in your hips here. A little more sensation in the waist as we circle. The spine has 6 different ways of moving. And we're going to try to hit all of them today. It's one of the most important aspects of yoga is keeping our spine healthy. Because as we get older, let's go back the other way. As we get older, some of that cartilage in between the discs starts to be compressed, and we want to keep all of the fluid flowing, all that synovial fluid, so that there's space in between those discs. And breathe. So let's move the blanket. And we're going to come to lying on our stomach. This is another exercise that I really, really like. It feels really nice on my shoulders. I'm going to scoot away from the wall here so you can see. Just lying flat on my stomach, and I'm reaching the arms out to the side. Forehead on the mat. I want you to roll the shoulders down the back. Feel your back muscles engaged. Keep your legs zipped up together. And try to place the palms flat on the floor. So your arms are out in a T. And try to get those arms, the palms flat on the floor. For me, I feel quite an intense stretch there when I do that. And it feels great. Helps activate the back body. Now, let's lift the fingers up lift the palms up so you're up on fingertips like spider fingers. This is another way of helping to activate the back. Some people prefer this one. Now lower the palms again and isometrically pull your hands towards your shoulders. And isometrically push away. And just notice how each of those movements feels a little bit different than the other. And relax. Take your hands under your shoulders and push yourself up onto your knees. I'm going to scoot back on my mat here, and I'm going to turn around. It's because the way my mat is set up, it's a little hard to see the camera all the time. Okay, so we're going to repeat some of those movements that we just did. So on all fours, what we call a stable table, we're going to balance here. And just feel your balance here. On an inhale, let your belly sink down and your head look up. And on an exhale, tuck your tailbone, let the low back arch up to the sky, and look at your belly button. On an inhale, roll up, look up. Exhale, tuck your tailbone, low back reaches to the sky, and we're rounding out the back. Inhale, belly button lowers to the mat. Head looks up, arching. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, low back rises to the ceiling, and look at your belly button. Let's go through that 4 more times. Inhale up. Exhale, down. Right, 3 more times at your own pace. After your last exhale, go back to a neutral back. We're going to make a C curve out of our spine and look over to your right hip. And C curve to the left as you look at your left hip. C curve to the right. C curve to the left. Are you holding your breath? Let's keep breathing. 1 movement. Inhale, exhale, other. Come back to neutral. From this stable position, let's tuck our toes, and we're going to make hip circles again. So we're going to teeter forward a little bit on your hands, and then let your hips circle out to the right, towards your heels, to the left, forward. 2 more circles, right, back, left, forward. Inhale, exhale, and let's go to the left. Left, back, right, forward. Inhale, exhale, keep circling. Inhale, exhale. Now stretch out your right foot long behind you. Feel the back of your knee pit reaching for the sky. Feel the heel pushing towards the edge of the mat. Hands staying strong. If you feel balanced, lift that right leg up. Let it float up to hip level and balance. If this feels easy for you, you can reach the left arm long out in front of you as well. Inhale. Exhale, hand down, knee down. Reach the left leg back, lengthen the heel out, push it towards the wall behind you, lift the back of the left knee. Stay balanced. If you feel good here, let the left leg float up towards your hip. Stay balanced. Breathe. And again, if you want to go a little further, reach the right arm out in front of you. Get long, like someone's pulling on your hand, someone's pulling on your leg. Breathe. And on an exhale, hand down and knee down. Step your right foot in between your hands. Walk your hands up onto your knees. And take your left hand to the outside of the right hip. Fan the right arm up behind you and put that arm on your hip. We're going to look out to the side. It's just a gentle twist. Again, you want to isometrically pull your right foot back and your left knee forward to help you balance. I like to keep my foot flat on this one, the left foot, but you can also tuck the toes if you find that easier to balance. Sometimes that gives a little better stretch in the quadricep. On an inhale, look forward. Place your hands down. Come to both knees and step your left foot in between your hands. Walk your hands up onto your knee. This is where you can tuck your back toes. Stand tall, right hand to the outside of your left knee. Fan the left arm up and back, hand to the hip, and look out over your left shoulder. And breathe. Pull that left heel back, right knee forward to engage your legs and stay balanced and strong. On an inhale, look forward. Take your hands down to the mat, both hands down, and stand on both knees. I'm going to take the right foot in between the hands. And if you can from here, take the left foot in between the hands, and we're going to come to standing in a responsible way for you. What I like to do here is bend my knees, feel my lower belly on my thigh, and pushing into the ground with my strong feet and strong legs, I like to take my hands to my hips and come up to standing. I'm going to turn to face the computer here so you can see what we're doing. Let's go ahead and march in place. Those knees high. We're going to do 10 marches. Ramanand Patel says that that is the best way to reset the hips. I'm going to take off my socks here so I have a little better balance and can grip the mat, and also so you can see what my feet are doing, because it's very important for this next pose. So take your feet about hip distance apart, about the fist widths apart. And we're going to lift up all 10 toes. Lay them down one at a time and see if you can get some space in between your toes. Now, push into the ball of the foot, lift up the heel, and try to lay the foot down as long as it can go. Get it as long as it can. Now take your hands into the hip crease, and we're going to feel that flesh kind of move out. Lift up the kneecaps, lift up the quadriceps. We're going to take the flesh on both sides of your body, and we're going to roll it up, take it into the armpits, roll it over your shoulders, feel your shoulder blades roll down the back. And then if you normally have a curve in your low back, you can take your hand to the low of your back, to your pelvis here, and kind of gently tuck. For me, that helps me get into a better position. If you normally are a tucker, that is not what you need to do. So let's stand here with our feet spread wide, trying to feel all four corners of our feet grounded, legs working tall, ears lined up over the shoulders, hands engaged. They can be pointing towards the legs or open. For me, it feels better to have them facing my legs. Gaze is soft and breathe. Tadasana, mountain pose. This is the foundation for all standing postures. If you're really still, you can feel your body move just ever so slightly. This is also called palm tree pose, which makes a lot more sense because you move ever so slightly. It's those postural muscles deep inside your body that are taking turns activating that make you sway back and forth a little bit. Good. So from Tadasana, we're going to do some gentle arm swings. So the hands swing forward and back, like a swing set. Forward and back. Now as we do this, we're going to start to let the knees rock. And go a little lower. And we're really going to go like a swing set. Let our hips rock. Back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. Keep breathing. Now start to come out of your knee and let those arms slow down. Now we're going to go sideways. We're going to swing arms gently. Hanging out, having a good time. And then we're going to let the momentum take us around a little bit more. We're going to swing a little more, swing a little more. To eventually allowing ourselves to give ourselves a little bit of a low back massage where your hand taps the kidney on the opposite side. Deep inhale, exhale. Trying to keep the inhale and exhale even, like they were when we were lying in that first pose of relaxation. Now slow down, slow down, slow down. And stand in Tadasana. I've lost my hands. My sleeves are too long. Now, let's step our feet wide. Hands are going to go on your hips. This is one of my favorite gentle teachers' exercises. She calls it the peanut butter jar. So you're going to starting off with little circles with your hips. Little circles. Imagine it's a tall, skinny peanut butter jar. And we're trying to get all the peanut butter out. And then we're going to make bigger circles. And now it's a really big peanut butter jar. The hips are going to go all the way around. And other direction. Only go, again, as large as your hips feel comfortable. But whatever size circle jar, whatever size jar you pick, let's try to make that circle happen. Awesome. Let's bring our feet back together. And we're going to do some ceiling reaches. So with our feet planted in Tadasana, we're going to reach one arm up high, like we're picking apples, and then the other arm up high, pick apples. And inhale up, exhale down, inhale up, exhale down, inhale up, exhale down, up. As you're reaching up, feel the leg that you're standing on reaching down. So we're trying to get as long as you can in each side of the body. 2 more. Up. Up. Very good. Let's march in place again. 10 more marches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep breathing. You can put your hands on your hips if that helps you. Awesome. Let's do a little bit of balance. If you know that your balance challenged, or if you're feeling that way today, you can go to a wall and put your fingers just on the wall for a little bit of extra balance. I'm going to turn to face you so you can see what I'm doing here. Let's put our hands on our hips, feet again, or hip distance wide. Just shift your weight onto your left foot slightly, and you're going to kind of telescope this or periscope this right leg up into the hip. That kind of helps you activate it. And try to simply balance on one foot. Put that foot down, and now we're going to shift to the right. And tilt the pelvis a little, periscope that leg up into the hip socket. Keep your standing leg strong, and keep breathing. And foot goes back down. Wonderful. Now, depending on how you felt in that position, if you felt like you were a little off balance or needed a little extra help, you can go to the wall here for this next balancing pose. If you felt good, we can stand here. Hand on the left hip. We're going to lift up the right knee. And we're going to clasp around the knee, both hands. Stay tall, strong and tall on the left knee. Go tall on the spine and breathe. If that's hard for you to clasp the knee, you can take your hands behind the hip. Now take the right hand to the right knee, and we're going to take the left hand back to the hip and open the knee to the side. And stay strong and balanced. And breathe. Float the knee back forward. Take the right hand to the right hip, left hand to the outside of that right knee, and move that across to the left. Stay strong on your left hip and breathe. If your balance is good, you can turn your head over your right shoulder. Look forward. Both hands to your knees. Hold the knee up. And down. I am going to take off one of my shirts. It's getting warm in here. That means that even in a gentle class, if you're using your muscles correctly, you can feel it. And the body warms up with our breath. So let's do the other leg. So hand on the right hip. Lift the left knee out in front. You can hold the knee with both hands. You can hold behind the foot. Or you can hold with one hand. And breathe. Use your core. Strong right leg. Now left hand to the inside of the right knee. And open that leg out to the side. Float the knee back forward. Left hand to the outside, right hand to the outside. Left hand to the left hip. Balance. Get a little bit of twist, even if it's just isometric. And if your balance is good, take your gaze over your left shoulder. Look forward and release. Ooh, I fell out of that one. Let's march in place again. 20 this time. Keep your spine tall and keep breathing. I think I lost count. Surely that's 20. Okay, good. Wonderful. So let's take our block, if you have one. We're going to set it on the highest setting. If you have 2 blocks and you feel like you will need those, you can do that. Or if you have a chair handy, feel free to use a chair right where the block would be. So from Tadasana, we're going to step our feet wide. Turn the right toes towards the front of your mat. Your left toes in sharply. And keep the torso facing the long edge of the mat. Strong legs. We're going to engage our legs very strong. Reach out over that front hip, as long as you can get. And then we're going to tilt that torso down till the hand falls under the shoulder on the block. Again, if you need to come up higher, you can stack 2 blocks. You want your foundation strong. You also want to be pressing into the block. Take your left hand to your left hip, Breathe. Now take your left hand to your right shoulder. Feel that pull the shoulder back. Look up at your elbow if that feels good on your neck and extend that left arm towards the ceiling. Keep your legs engaged. Look down at your foot. Take your left hand to your right hip. And on an inhale, come to standing. I'm going to turn to the other side. So right foot turns in sharply. Left foot turns out to the other edge of your mat. Arms go out long on the mat. Reach long towards the wall in front of you. Strong legs. Tilt the torso so the hand falls underneath the shoulder. Hand comes to your hip. Keep pressing into that block. So we're turning the upper body towards the towards the long side of the mat. Now hand's going to come to your shoulder. The right hand comes to the shoulder. Elbow's going to point up to the ceiling. If you can turn your head to that elbow and that feels okay on your neck, I invite you to do that. And breathe. If that is too hard on your neck, you can just keep your gaze at your toes of your front foot. And breathe. Look down at the front foot. Take your upper arm to your hip. And on an inhale, come up to standing. Parallel your feet. Walk your feet in. And take Tadasana. And just notice how your body feels a little different than it did during the first Tadasana of the day. If this is your second practice, then it would be the first Tadasana of this particular practice. Take your feet wide again. Turn the right toes out. Left toes in. Let your right hip scoot back a little bit, but turn the torso towards the long edge of the mat and extend the arms equally with equal strength on each side as you lean back over the back leg. The back leg should support you. Gaze is out over the front middle finger and sit down into the front hip as you bend that front knee. I like to open up my knee a little bit to give space for the hip, and ultimately that knee is going to track over the second toe. So Warrior 2 or Virabhadrasana B, we're leaning away from the battle into our strong back leg, and breathe. Gaze is out over that middle finger. Feel the undercarriage of your legs working strong. These standing postures are meant to give you strength. On an inhale, straighten the front leg. Parallel your feet. If your arms are tired or you feel winded, you can lower the arms. For a challenge, you can keep them up. Turn the toes towards the back side of the mat. So left toes turn out all the way. Right toes turn in sharply. The left hip scoot back a teeny bit and turn that torso towards the long edge of your mat. Still leaning into the back foot. The whole outside edge of that backwards foot is grounded. Arms are reaching out on opposite sides. Gaze turns towards the middle finger of the front arm and sink into that front hip. Keeping your weight into that back leg, supporting you. And breathe. On an inhale, straighten out the front leg, turn your toes forward, release your hands, walk your feet in. We're going to go into Utkatasana, chair pose or fierce pose. So bring your feet to touch. We do not want our knees to touch here though. So your feet are touching, but the knees are going to track over that second toe. So we're going to bend our knees, scoop water up with your hands, and reach them up to the sky. Keep your hips sinking back, pushing back. Arms reaching up, engage your core. If you are a tucker, then you might need to round out your low back. If you are not a tucker, if you have extra curve in your low back, then you need to tuck. Squeeze your sit bones together, squeeze your inner thighs together, and keep breathing. Arms can be apart, arms can be together, whatever feels more comfortable for you. And on an inhale, reach up, come out of your knees, and exhale, hands at your sides. If you have that chair handy and you feel like you need it, or if you have your blocks, you can put them in front of you here for a forward fold. Whenever we do, we want to protect the low back here. So if you know your hamstrings are tight, then you might want to fold forward so you can rest on a chair or on the blocks or even on the footstool that we used at the beginning of our practice. So feet are together or hips distance apart. Either is fine. We're going to do the beginning of that Utkatasana that we just did. So I'm going to bend the knees, and I want you to get your low belly onto your thigh. Okay, so we're feeling how that low belly is on the thigh. This can really help protect that low back. Now, if you feel good here, then you can reach your hands to the ground and slowly start to straighten your legs. Only as far as you can go without straining your low back. And tighten the quadriceps, tighten the glutes, and breathe. Sometimes here I like to take my fingers and go back up to the hip crease and remove that flesh so I give a little extra room for myself to fold forward. If you really tighten your quadriceps, it'll let your hamstrings release a little more. So if this is too much for you, this is where you can put the blocks and you can rest your hands on a block. Sometimes it feels good to start out there, and then as we're in this position, fold forward a little more. But we're not going to be here very long. Good. From here, we're going to walk around to forward, into our forward fold, and you're going to step your feet back into downward facing dog. Holding your down dog for one breath. Slide yourself forward into a plank and lower yourself to the ground. Lengthen out your legs behind you. Keep your legs zipped up together. And take your hands right at shoulder level. Chest is on the ground. Forehead is on the ground. Now squeezing your back, lift your hands off the mat. Just your hands. Keep your legs pressed into the mat. And hands back to the mat. Now, on an inhale, pushing into the mat, keeping your gaze down your shirt, we'll lift up our back, pushing with our hands. The last thing to come up is your head. Keep your legs zipped up together, pressing into the mat, legs long, and breathe. Bhujangasana, cobra pose. And lower down. You can lower one cheek to the mat here. Let's try that again. So forehead to the mat. Hands at shoulder level. Using the strength of your arms and the strength of your back. Let's rise up, lifting the head last. And breathe. Keep your legs zipped together, pressing into the mat. If you feel good here, you can lift your hands off the mat, using just your back. Hands back, and lower down to the other cheek. You can make a pillow with your hands. And rest. Take your hands back to your shoulders. Take your knees closer towards the edge of your mat. Push yourself up to all fours and back into child's pose. Balasana. Come up to standing on all fours again. And now let's stand on our knees. I'm going to turn to face the mirror again so you can see what I'm doing. With your hands on your hips, take your right hand out long, your right leg out long, sorry. Tuck your back toes. Your right foot can go parallel to the short edge of the mat, or it can point and stay parallel along the long edge of the mat. Whatever feels better for you today. Now, fan the left arm up and reach out long over the right leg. Parigasana, gate pose. You can look down at your hand resting on your leg. On an inhale, come back up. Hands to your hips. If you have to touch the ground, that's okay. To keep your balance, bring the right knee in. And stretch the left leg out. Tuck your back toes. Hand on the hip. Come to standing on that right knee. Inhale. Grow tall. On another inhale, fan the right arm up. Reach out long over the left side. You can look at your hand, or you can look down at the extended leg. On an inhale, fan the arm back up. Put your hands down if you need to for balance. And bring your knees together. We're running out of time here. Some of those warm-ups took a little longer than I had expected them to. So we're going to skip a couple of the poses I had planned and go straight to some of the sitting postures. So this is where we're going to want the blanket again. I'm going to turn to face you. I'm going to fold it one more time and sit right on the edge here. Sit right on the edge. I want you to take your hands and remove the flesh so your sit bones can feel grounded. Lengthen the legs out in front of you. Roll the shoulders back like we did in the beginning for Tadasana. And place your hands on the blanket behind you. That's one of the other reasons I like to sit on the blanket, is that my arms are super short and they don't reach the ground. So I have my hands resting on the blanket, pushing into the blanket, I should say. Lift your chest a little. Gaze is slightly forward towards your toes, towards the tip of your nose, really. And breathe. This is Dandasana, or staff pose. This is the foundation for all seated postures. You should feel a long spine and feel your legs extending long towards the wall in front of you. Legs engaged, pushing out the big toe mounds while the heels are pressing into the mat. Engage your quadriceps. Feel the sit bones ground and feel the crown of the head lengthen towards the sky. I should have told you to have a belt handy. So let's grab your belt or your tie or your towel or whatever you have that you should have available to you. We're going to take this belt around the feet. And if this feels good to you today, and this is as far as you want to go, this is A-okay. This is what we like to call water skiing. So we're leaning back, but we're still feeling this strong position here. Now, if you would like to fold forward, you can crisscross the belt in front of you, wrap one side around each hand, and start to pull your chest forward. Not pull on your legs, but pull your chest forward. Just like we did in our Uttanasana, our forward fold, you want to have your belly against your thigh. That is the most important part here. On an inhale, grow tall in the spine. And on an exhale, fold a little more. If you feel like you can go further, you can continue wrapping until your hands get to your feet. Once your low belly is on your thigh, if that's easy for you, then you can go ahead and fold forward all the way. But again, keeping the legs active, especially the quadriceps to help release the hamstrings, and keeping the spine long. This is Paschimottanasana. We're seated forward fold. This is a very calming pose. Release the feet. And on an inhale, walk your hands back up. Now leave the belt there. Take your hands behind your right knee. Bring the right foot in as close to your hip as possible. Sit up tall. I'm going to turn this foot to face the extended leg and open up the right knee. So right knee is going to be as close to a 90-degree angle as possible. Now, if you use the belt for the last pose, you can feel free to use that here. You can, as I showed you, you can water ski, just leaning back and trying to feel the engagement of the legs. Or your second option would be to crisscross the belt and start to fold forward. As that feels good, you can pull the elbows out. Keeping this bent leg engaged, pushing out the femur to the wall or to the short edge of your mat. Keeping the torso over the extended leg. Gaze on the big toe. On an inhale, walk your hands back. Hand behind the right knee, point it up to the ceiling. Extend the leg out and shake it out. We're going to change legs. So keep your belt handy if you need that. Hands behind the left knee. Close off that knee joint. Pull the foot in as close to the hip as possible. And now let this leg drop open to the side. I am not going to use the belt on this one. Feel free to use it if that felt good to you. I'm going to take my left arm to the outside of my right extended leg and let my torso turn a little bit so my belly button is aiming towards my knee. So my torso is folding out over the extended leg. And keep that right leg really engaged as you start to fold forward. This leg is a little tighter for me today. Hands go to the foot. If you're not on the belt, gaze towards the big toe. And we're trying to get the low belly on the top of the thigh. If you do not have your low belly on your thigh, do not fold your head forward. And breathe. Walk your hands back. We have a couple more to do and then we will call it a night. So take your hands behind your right knee. Bring your feet together. And try to scoot your hips as close to your feet as you can. This pose is called Baddha Konasana, or bound angle pose, also called cobbler's pose in some yoga traditions. Keep your spine long. I like to start with my hands behind my back and roll my shoulders so I stay tall and lifted here. And this is a perfect place for you to stay today. As we're in this posture, which is considered one of the gateway postures to open up all of the other postures for you, feel your femurs shooting out to opposite sides of the room as you feel the rotator muscles around the hip joint work to let those legs release. If you need to give yourself a little more space, you can take your hands in between where that calf and the thigh join and kind of give it a little bit of space there. Sometimes that helps the legs get a little tighter. Take your hands to the top of your knee and push up to engage that inner thigh and release. Now take your hands below the knee and push down. Again, we're trying to activate those outer hips. and release. Take your hands to your ankle and help yourself stand up straight. Keep the outer edges of your feet together, pushing together to keep the legs activated. And breathe. Sometimes here I like to give myself a foot massage. This is a really good place to do that. Because some teachers recommend that you hold this pose for 5 minutes. We do not have time to do that, but if you have noticed, I am keeping you here a while. And I should have said that if your knees aren't anywhere near the ground or you feel a lot of pressure there, I should have said this right away. You can put a block underneath your knee or a blanket to avoid too much pressure there. Now take the hands behind the knees, bring them up. I slipped off my blanket, so I'm just going to get rid of the blanket right now because I don't think you need it for this next one. We're going to take our legs wide into a V. Again, remove the flesh out of the way. This is another posture to sit in for quite some time. So if you feel your pelvis tilting slightly forward, that's because it's supposed to. Keeping the feet engaged, pushing your heels into the ground, and feeling your thighs and your whole leg shooting out to opposite sides of the room. Grow tall. You can put your hands behind you to help yourself get balanced and prepared. Now take your hands in front of you. And we're just going to walk our hands out gently. If that's as far as you want to go, you can stay with your hands behind your back, and that is perfectly wonderful. Keep your legs engaged. And if you feel like you want to go further, walk those feet out. Not your feet, your hands. Walk your hands out. Keep your legs engaged. Now, we're going to sit here for a minute. So if you have a block or a book or a pillow and you want to rest your head on it, if you are there, that is a good idea. Remember, our head is as heavy as a bowling ball. So even if we don't feel the strain, it is happening. So when we're hanging out here, it's good to rest that head on something. If you don't need a block or if this tall setting is too much for you, you can turn it to one of the medium settings. Keep your legs engaged. On an inhale, walk your hands back up. Remove your block. Take your hands behind your knees. Bring them back in one at a time. And extend your legs out long in front of you. Shake them out. Shake your legs out. Now we're going to do our last posture here. So take your hands behind your right knee. Bring the foot in close to you, as close to you as you can. You can sit on a blanket here again if you would like. Might help tilt your pelvis and help that low back. So bring the foot in as close to that hip as possible. And I'm going to take my hand and move a little bit of the belly flesh out of the way. And I'm going to take my left hand to the right hip, right arm behind me. I'm too close to the wall here. And put the hand on the blanket. So just a gentle twist here. If this is hard on your low back, you don't even have to twist. You can just grab that knee and that's fine too. Squeeze that left knee. And if you feel good, take your gaze out over your right shoulder. And breathe. On an inhale, look forward. Exhale, release. Body forward and release your leg. Now let's change legs. So left leg comes in, close off that knee joint, pull the foot in as close to the hip as possible. Take your left hand and move some of that flesh out of the way. Right hand goes to the outside of the right hip, the right knee, sorry. And the left arm is going to go, right here's my wall, behind you. And if you feel good, you can turn your head out over your left shoulder. On an inhale, look forward. Exhale, release. Turn the body forward and stretch your leg out in front of you. And let's shake our legs out. Good. And we are just at an hour. So you're going to head right into relaxation after one more little thing. So let's put our socks on. Get ourselves warm. It's getting chilly outside. So you want to be ready for that feeling because it gets, you don't want to be cold in Shavasana. So if you know there's any props that you need, there's a bolster, a blanket, if you want a blanket for your head, an eye pillow, or if you want a blanket to cover up with, that's my favorite thing to do. Any of those things, you might want to have them handy. But let's come to line on our backs. And we'll do just one more gentle twist. So take your knees up towards your chest. Your arms can be out in a T. And on an inhale, let your knees fall over towards that elbow of the right arm. Just let them relax, let them fall open. Just a gentle twist. If you feel good, you can look out over your left shoulder. Look back up. On an inhale, bring the knees back to center. On your next inhale, bring your knees up towards your chest. And exhale, let them relax over towards the left side. Again, your gaze can go out over your right shoulder. Inhale, look back up at the ceiling. On your next inhale, bring your knees up. Open up your knees. Take the hands to the inside of your knees and grab on the outside of your feet. This is what we call happy baby. This is my favorite thing to do right before Shavasana. So we're going to rock around on your back. You can straighten one leg, straighten the other. Or if there's anything else you want to do, any other movements, hug your knees. Sometimes that feels better than happy baby. You can hug your knees and rock around. Now let's come to line on your back. Set up with any props that you need. I'm going to cover up with my blanket. Take off your glasses. I'm going to leave mine on so I can see the computer when I bring you all out of Shavasana. But if there's any lights on, you can turn those off. Sometimes a bolster feels really good under your knees. Just settle in. Let your arms relax at your sides. Let the feet fall open. Take one big inhale. Exhale. One more. Squeeze your right arm, your whole right side, your right leg, and relax. Squeeze your leg, make a fist with your left hand and squeeze that. Squeeze your right arm, squeeze your left leg, and relax. Let every last bit of tension release to the ground, as if your skin is melting off your body. Like you're lying on sand and it's supporting you, but the top of you is sinking into the sand. Relax your face. Swallow so you can let the tongue relax. Let your breath start to deepen. Start to bring movement back to your body by wiggling your fingers, wiggling your toes. You can make little circles with your ankles and your wrists. Stretch one arm overhead. Stretch the other arm overhead. And stretch both arms away from the feet, like you're cutting apart the waist. And relax. Keeping one arm overhead, bending your knees towards your bottom, roll over onto one side, using your arm as a pillow. And exhale towards the earth. When you're ready, you can come to sitting by straightening out the top leg and using the strength of your arms to push yourself up into a comfortable seat. I'm going to move closer towards the camera now. Thank you so much for joining me today. I do hope you found this practice relaxing yet invigorating, And I hope that if you're doing this practice in the evening, that it helps you have wonderful, deep, deep sleep. If you're doing it in the morning, I hope that it helps you approach the day with clarity and compassion and helps benefit you and everyone that you come across. The highest in me honors the highest in you. Namaste.